These are the conditions they're going to have to contend with. The wind is sweeping down off the Kattegat. It's icy, and we are underway. It's history repeating itself. This could be it. This could be the moment. The drama that we needed has come right at the end of this race. This is going to be the venue for the 2019 UCI World Championships. As they streak towards the bridge, it's a right.
Well, good morning, a very warm welcome here to Bogense in Denmark. We're right in central Denmark, getting ready for a weekend of fantastic racing. This is the UCI Cyclo-cross World Championships as we take a look across Bogense, the site of these championships for the 2 days. Well, we're right on the sea. In the summertime, this is a very popular tourist spot. Just under 4,000 people live here, so it's been completely invaded for the weekend. Around 30,000 spectators expected tomorrow, and a similar number today. Let's take a look then at the course. 2.6 kilometers in length. And sitting alongside me is, of course, Simon Burney, who knows all about cyclocross and has had a look at the course over yesterday and today. Simon, as we take a look then at the course of 2.6K, what do we expect from this course this morning? Because it's bound to change. Let's first, before we talk about that, talk about the previous winners. Ben Tullett, the defending champion, before him Tom Pidcock. And Denmark on the board there with Simon Andreas, and we remember him riding really well in Tabor in the Czech Republic. There is a defending champion. He gets the chance to ride again, Ben Tullett on the front row of the grid. Simon, we're not far from the start. This course, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so a lot different to the last couple of years, Anthony. It's pretty flat. There's just one steep grassy bank on one end of the course, but it's long road section. Hard packed grass, very icy, very frozen, very slippery, with this challenge that's a bank that the riders go up and down 2 or 3 times. That's going to be the pivotal sections, I think. It's the rest of it. It's fast, it's bumpy. It's not a road race necessarily because of the bumps and lumps. It's going to be interesting, and the weather's changing a little bit. This top surface, it's rock hard ground, and the top surface is just greasy and getting more and more slippery, so it's an interesting one.
Well, we're going to see maybe the course changing throughout the day, and as Simon always does, he goes and has a look at the course to find out whether the course is changing, whether it's getting more icy, less icy, whether we've had a little bit of rain and the surface is starting to get a bit wetter. But it's certainly going to be a big challenge, and this weekend is always got that big expectation. As we see Luc Verburg there on the start line, 4th in the World Cup in 2018-19. Jan-Zat Lukal, the Czech Republic rider there, 7th in the World Cup this season. Tom Lindner of Germany is alongside another pre-race favourite, 5th in the World Cup, 4th here last year, not here but in the World Championships. Witsi Musen, this guy is certainly on form. Alongside him, Ryan Kortjens, the Belgian team as always, very, very strong indeed. Next rider on the grid, well, this guy has got everyone looking at him, Thibaut Nice, the son of Sven. And the next rider on the grid, Pim Ronhaar. He won in Coxsider this season. Then we've got number 32, Jakub Tupelik. Interestingly, as you pointed out, Simon, the defending champion not on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, it's gridded on the UCI ranking, and Ben Tullett had a slower start to the year, had a knee injury that took him out of a few races, so his results weren't the same as this front row. So yeah, Ben's 2nd row, but I don't think that's going to be a big problem for him. He's got the fast wheels in front of him, and I think right now it's going to be a bit of a team race.
Here we go then, our first race of these World Championships is underway, and a very, very fast start over on the right-hand side by Luc Verburg, the Dutch rider, sprinting away on the tarmac as they go past us. They're going to turn right over the bridge, and then let's hope everyone gets safely through there. That was a furious start by the Dutchman.
7 bridges on this course, Anthony. 7 flyovers. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if that actually means anything, but there's certainly the entry and the exit of these flyovers. The ground's quite hard, and the transition from the drop off the flyover onto the ground, sometimes it just digs up a little bit, gives a little bit of a sharp edge. We saw it in Hoogerheide last week, some issues coming off the bridges, but we'll need a lap just to see this course and get a feel for how slippery it actually is. It's been an interesting one. Tyre choice has been talked about with the mechanics and the coaches the last couple of days, and it's definitely changed even in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, this time, for sure it wasn't a mud tyre course, but I had word from Matt Ellis, the British coach, on the start line that actually probably half the riders have got a mud tyre on there. So it's going to be interesting to see why this top surface just starting to thaw up a little bit, but it's just making it like ice. It's very, very slippery on the corners. Long straightaways, and they look nice and smooth, but they are really bumpy. And again, it's that line might just start to get a little bit faster on where the top surface is breaking up.
Bit of a problem there for Tom Lindner on the right-hand side as he crashed there. He didn't quite fall over, but they knocked together Witsi Muyusen, who's won 3 rounds of the World Cup, so that's held up 2 of the pre-race favourites. But the pace already, as we look at these magnificent shots, this high camera just showing the peloton really lined out.
So this is the bank, you know, and the top of that, there's the last couple of metres they're really hard to ride, and it's so steep. We see the riders get off and they can't actually keep the momentum going forward. It's just take a step back to get your balance back. So it's a difficult bank to negotiate. And I think these races are going to be won and lost on making mistakes on this bank rather than maybe the number of watts you're producing on the rest of the course.
And then on this bank, you've got no momentum. And as you can see, as Simon said, one of the USA riders slipping and sliding his way up that banking. You just can't get your feet, and you have no momentum into that second bank. So if you've been caught up on the first one, then it's a little bit one of those courses you make one mistake one place and it translates further on down the course.
It does. After those first 2 climbs, they transition back onto the flat down the far end of the course, through the pits, over some hurdles that we're going to see now, and then he goes back to the bank for the second part of the lap. And included on that is an off-camber section, which is going to be interesting to watch, I think, because that yesterday was treacherous.
One of the Spanish riders right up at the front, and it's not the Spanish rider that we were expecting, although now 2 of them up there, Gonzalo Macho and Carlos Canal Blanco. Carlos is the rider that we've been watching, Simon, quite a lot. He's the second of the riders there, number 58. He's the rider who has been right at the front of a lot of the World Cups early on, and he looks very comfortable. Good bit of news for Ben Tullet, I think, in that lead group, because he's made that group, and the 2 Belgian favourites haven't. I was expecting 3 Belgians in that lead group, and Tullet having the team game played on him, but right now he's in a good place. He didn't have a great start. He got swamped a little bit coming off the start, and he came onto the first bridge, probably not in the top 10 or 12. So he's done well to make that bridge up to the lead group. Yeah, he's had a very good start, and the Spanish are the team, surprisingly. We would, as you expected, 3 Belgians maybe in the front group, but the Spanish have got the ascendancy in the numbers here. 2 Spaniards, 1 Dutchman, 1 Belgian, 1 Brit, and 1 Frenchman in the front of this race. A big mistake there by one of the Spaniards. The Frenchman who is up here is Thomas, and he has found his way into this front group, Theo Thomas. So a very good start by the defending champion. A problem maybe here for number 13, Witsi Muyusen.
No, that's the camber, and it's so steep. Again, camera angles always flatten the steepness of these bits, but that's really steep, and it's really hard on the bike and on your feet. It's not something you can just jump off and run easily and be faster. It's a very hard one to negotiate. Again, shoe spike choice is definitely crucial today. You need something that can grip onto the top surface of the frozen ground.
Going up there, and the Belgians all together there across that little group, but the Spanish rider now really turning up the heat is this Blanco now, who's at the front. In fact, no, it's still Gonzalo Macho looking round for his teammate who made that little bit of a mistake and has dropped back a little. But the Belgians have got a little bit of work to do here as they try to get themselves across. One of the USA riders is also up there, Nick Carter. The Carter's riding strongly up there and trying to get across to this leading group. There's Carter in the gap there, one of the Danish riders also. So a group of 5 riders now at the front, and the Belgians starting to get themselves back together.
Definitely put them on the back foot, though, which is good to see. I think, yeah, they're going to make that front group on this road section at the start. It'll all sit up and they'll all sit and look at each other and just see who's made that group. And I think for the lone riders there, Ben Tullett's a smart lad. He's going to know there's going to be 3 or 4 Belgians in that group, and he just needs to make sure he doesn't get himself worked over here.
Lap 1 is completed now as they go through, and that was a pretty fast race across that line. Leading now is number 6, Pim Ronhaar, 6th in 2018, 1 in Coxsider. But a very, very good start by the Dutchman. But the Belgians now, 4 riders from Belgium in that group. And Simon, you were saying that there is a possibility here. Just translate for us the team tactics, because the Belgians now are in a position where they can work over the other riders.
Yeah, it's just things like sitting up on one of the bridges, put a teammate in the front and just kind of go easy over the top and let gaps appear. And I think, again, just watching Ben Tullett, he's making sure he's not going too far back down that group, and it's a smart thing to do, because what you don't want is 3 Belgians on the front and just able to play the tactic and to leave the individual riders to constantly be closing little 2-3 second gaps, because over 40 minutes that'll start to wear you down. So it's everybody wants to be at the front, but the individual countries represented there won't want a Belgian team time trial.
Now the Belgians now have got themselves sorted out. Ryan Courtens, the winner of Namur and Zolder, is at the front of the race. Tracking him, Pim Ronhaar in the orange of the Netherlands. Ben Tullett, the defending champion, national champion of Great Britain, in 3rd place, and as Simon said, staying very, very close to the front of this race. Ooh, one of the Italians going over the handlebars, and that looked like he didn't have too many problems, just had to lock things up a little bit. He's safely back up on the bike now, and that, I think, was Samuel Leone who was the rider who made that little mistake.
That's the difference in that group. The first 4 or 5 can ride that bank, and the ones further back are just getting wheels coming at them too fast and just have to put a foot down and scoot the last little bit. And it's those little gaps that are going to cause this front group to split, I think. This second bank's a definite dismount. No one's going to ride that one, not even in the elite race.
A few little problems for another one of the Belgians, slipping and sliding his way up as they go flying back down towards the water. Now it's an attack at the front, and it's Ryan Courtens who's trying to stretch this race out. Pim Ronhaar going with him, another Belgian rider in that gap, and Ben Tullett. So Witsi Musen, who was held up by the toppling of the German rider Tom Linder, he's up there wearing number 13 over the hurdles. And the Belgians are hurdling them. Tullett decides not to. And moving up is the rider in red and yellow, the Spaniard Gonzalo Macho, not Carlos Blanco as we would have expected. Really fast pace though, huge acceleration. And number 12 there, Ryan Courtens, is looking strong. It's a little bit like not quite a criterium or Kermes, but it's fast enough to be. The average speed of that first lap, 25.56 kilometers an hour, was a 6:05 lap, and that was Ben Tullett's lap, so he's got the fastest lap so far. 25.56 kilometers an hour. Tullett 6:05.2. Ronhaar with a 6:05.4. So a very fast opening lap, but 3 riders now starting to stretch this race and go clear.
Yeah, Cortons and Mayusen have been the 2 strongest consistently this season. Cortons looks like he's had a shave for this race, which is good, because last week he looked like about a 25-year-old riding a junior race.
Well, last week Ben Tullett didn't have a good day. He was just had one of those days when he was a little bit off colour, and we were talking about that last night. It may well have played into his hands. He had a really hefty training camp, didn't he? And then a lot of team commitments after that.
Yeah, he did the national championships and went off on a training camp to Spain and Mallorca. Can't quite remember which one he did, but somewhere warm, and came back and kind of went straight into some team responsibilities in the lead up to Hoogerheide. So I think he probably came in a little bit tired, and but again, he did exactly the same thing last year in Valkenburg. It wasn't great at Hoogerheide, and then the week after came out fresh and strong and became world champion. So, you know, I don't think he's going to let that play on his mind. He's got the experience of it, and I think right now he's on the coattails of the Belgians and the Dutch, which is exactly where he needs to be, because again, like I say, these 2 Belgians have been the strong guys this year.
They certainly have, and they are, having had problems, are now the riders who are attacking hard as they go clear. So Ryan Cortons and Witsy Mayusen at the front. Pim Ronhaar, Ben Tullett, Gonzalo Macho. Behind them is Theo Thomas of France. Then it's Ward Hubbs. Then it's Tom Linder, Noah Vrieswijk, and then it's Joshua Goodnitz of Denmark, who is up there now in 10th place. For USA fans, Nick Carter is now in 12th place, but these 2 Belgian riders are going clear, and it's a 2-up time trial right now as they make their way up to complete lap number 2 and reach 5.35 kilometers, and they really are starting to motor as they make their way along the tarmac. The Dutchman and the British rider trying to get back on terms. Mayusen's lap time then was a 5:58, 7 seconds faster than Ben Tullett's previous lap. So you can see just how much pressure the Belgians are putting on the rest of the riders right now, trying to go clear. But if the Dutchman and the British rider can work together, they will bring them back.
We hope. I'm not convinced, but it's not a big gap, and Tullett's gone to the front. I don't think he thought the Dutch rider was maybe going to close that gap down. But that turn of speed by those 2 Belgians, the last half of that lap was pretty impressive. And like you said, 7 seconds faster than Tullett's opening lap. Shows the speed. But it's a short lap. It's, again, if you look at Hoogerheide last week, I think we'll probably make some comparisons to that, because it's the last World Cup before the World Championships. A very long lap. I think the women did 4 laps last week.
They did.
Yeah, it was over a 10-minute lap.
It was a proper trudge last week, though, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely. But again, you know, the difference, I think, one of the beauties of cyclo-cross, we're looking at, in 7 days, going from a muddy, hilly, wet, miserable race or course conditions to something completely different. And I think it's interesting to see how form from one week can carry over to World Championships, but also courses change so much. So it's going to be an interesting one. But again, Tullett closed that gap down, looks good. And I think, again, doing things like that just
plays on the mind of the
Belgians. If they put a big effort in onto that first lap and see it hasn't worked, and certainly the Dutchman is looking the weaker of those 2.
Tullett's going to take this on.
Again, it's just trying to get to this bank first. You know, you want to be able to try and ride it, and that's such smart riding. Look how easily he rode that.
That was a big attack.
And again,
up there.
Foot down, it's just those 1 or 2 seconds that make it so much harder for gaps to get closed. But Tullett, very, very smart move that.
Tullett, to me, looks very composed today, very controlled. He's not being drawn into the mind games of the Belgians who've come back to the front. He's not letting them dominate the race, and the defending champion is right at the front wearing number 1. He's not had the best season, but that's because he started with a knee injury, and Dean Downing, his coach, and all his advisors calmed him down, made him wait. It might well be that he's a lot fresher than the other riders, and we've seen him with some fantastic days of racing. And now the Belgians are going to have to follow the defending champion, and of course they've put in some massive effort, Simon, so those legs are not going to be very fresh right now after that big attack and that big lap of 5:58, which was 26k an hour. That was a huge effort.
It is. We've only been racing 15 minutes and we've got 40 minutes of racing, so we've still got plenty of time and still plenty to play for here. But again, you can just see the gap opening back to the Dutchman. He's lost contact with that lead trio now.
Yeah, Tullett's done the right thing here. He knows he's got two riders from the same country. There will be some team orders going on here. They've got all the top Belgians are here. Sven Nys is here with television, and he's been around the course this morning nice and early. But Tullett is kicking on and trying to get rid of one of them, isn't he? Then he's only got to worry about one other rider, but he's certainly doing the right thing. If you'd like to join us on Twitter over the weekend, at UCI_cycling is where you can send your messages, or to @AntMcCrossan or @SimonBurney. Thanks for joining us. Loads of you messaging us in already. Sarah and Velo watching, Silver Goose would like to know the tyre and pressure choices for the juniors this morning. Simon, if you know them.
Yeah, so yesterday Ben Tullett was talking about he was actually going to use a Griffo and a Dune, which a Dune is a file tread with some grip on the outsides. But I'm pretty sure that'll have changed in the last, 15 hours, because it's a lot slipperier, more slippery than it was yesterday. So I would guess he's either gone 2 Griffos, tyre pressure. Again, the little transitions at the bottom of the descent and coming off the bridges just meant that they were putting a few PSI more in than they would maybe normally. So they were looking at 21, 22 PSI, up to kind of 24, 25, depending on the rider. But that kind of 15, 16 PSI that we see when it's very muddy and soft, that's too soft for a day like today. But Tullett's gone away here.
Tullett's decided there was a little error by one of the Belgian riders, and Tullett looked round, and he has now taken full advantage of that small mistake on that slidey off canvas section, and Tullett has attacked with a massive move here. It was Meusen, I think, who made the little mistake, and Tullett realised it. He's certainly got his wits about him today, and he has attacked with a furious move here. The Dutchman is unable to go. He's got his head all over the place, and now the Belgians are going backwards, and they are going to have to chase down this British rider who has opened up a big gap already. Coming up then to complete another lap. It was a 5:58 last time, 26 kilometres an hour. Well, Tullett's got rid of his glasses. This is full commitment from the young British rider. Coming up now towards 8 kilometres, and he is aero, and he is trying to put this attack really firmly into a race-winning move. That was a 5:53 lap, Simon, the fastest lap so far, 26.47 kilometres an hour. So he had to react to the fast lap of Witsi Meusen, and not only do that, he's attacked to go clear. Just shows that he's got good legs.
Yeah, he's got good legs. Yeah, he's freshened up really nicely, and he's looked in control since the start, and he didn't panic when the two Belgians got a few seconds on him, and he's obviously feeling confident to kind of keep the pressure on and to keep that gap. No bike change.
No bike change.
I don't think we'll be seeing too many of those. I don't think the tyre tread will fill up too badly on here. Certainly won't be bikes clogging. Maybe for tyre tread later in the race, just a one change.
Well, he doesn't want a bike change now either, does he? He wants to really commit and see whether he can open this gap a few seconds, and it's a full commitment. This is an impressive move, and they are having to work extremely hard. He's already opened up 5 seconds. This is the crosswind section. Now he's going to get the little bit of respite of a slight tailwind, then he goes back into a headwind now, right down on the sea in Bogense. He looks across, and these two riders are working together, but Tullett is trying desperately to make this the move where they crack. The rider who's chasing, Ryan Courtens, he won Namur, and Namur is the toughest of the cyclocrosses in the World Cup, up there on the Citadel. But Tullett is opening this up. Another second, 6 seconds his advantage. And he's kicking hard all the time as he accelerates and just gets to the top without having to get off.
Yeah, since that gap opened on the camber, the whole of the part of the course that he's been riding in the front has just been about horsepower. And he's equal to the two Belgians on that. This section is where technical ability and bike handling can play into a rider's hands. And right now, Tullett, he's handled that off-camber really well, those 3 laps. That's where he made the gap. He's able to ride that first bank, and he's hopping off nicely and keeping the momentum going on the second one.
Dives
down. You can see how steep it is. You know, they're not running up that. They're just kind of trying to keep moving forward. It's a challenging piece of the course.
Yeah, TV cameras always flatten everything down. It's very, very steep. It's icy, it's slidey, it's really testing. As you can see, you get off and you almost go backwards. And you've just got to try and find some sort of footing. Tullett now over the hurdles.
And to me, it looks like he's put another second or 2 into them on that 2 crossings of the bank.
His advantage is now 11 seconds as they go over the hurdles. Dave is sitting at home with man flu and is watching the coverage. He rather likes this course, even although there's been a bit of criticism. That little camera's a bit dark. No, your eyes haven't given out. You're okay, don't worry. Let's just go through the top 10 for you so you know exactly how things are going. Ben Tullett of Great Britain's leads. Ryan Courtens of Belgium second. Witsy Moos in third for Belgium. Theo Thomas of France in fourth. Pim Ronard, Netherlands in fifth. Then 2 Belgians. Lennart Belmans, Thibaut Nice. Then it's Antoine Huby of France, Samuel Leone of Italy, and then Ward Hubbs in 10th place. The first Danish rider, Joshua Goodnitz, down in 13th place. And for fans of the USA, Alex Morton is in 19th place. Nick Carter now down in 25th after a very good start. And other nationalities, Connor Martin of Canada down in 44th place. Adam McGar of Ireland down in 54th place at this moment in time. Lap 4 of 7, 22 minutes gone, a 40-minute race, and the leader is the defending champion, Ben Tullett of Great Britain.
Just scooting along there again. It looks nice and flat, that. It's almost vertical. We'll just see if the Belgians can do a better job of it, and that's exactly what we're talking about. It's so slick.
This is like... It's just like walking on slick ice.
And again, you know, you just saw Tullett there. It's another second or 2, but the fact that he could just clear that section a little bit cleaner than the 2 Belgians, that's all going to play into his favour. This one's not as bad. There's a nice rut kind of formed on that one. Little transition onto the from the grass onto the top of the ramp down. And the people that were having flat tyres in the week leading up to this, again, you're pulling up on the barriers, they were getting flat tyres on the mussel shells on the course.
Really? Mussel shells?
Mussel shells. Evidently, the birds drop the mussels from a height to break them.
Okay.
And leave little sharp shards of mussel shell.
Never
which was
heard that
slicing into the sidewalls, yeah. So, not the sort of thing you see at most cycling.
No, definitely not. Alex Aranchiba would like to know, are cyclocross bikes and road bikes set up exactly the same? So if you're on your road bike, you go to cyclocross, do you set your bike up the same way? Same saddle height, same stem length, all that?
Yeah, I think, you know, old school is a little bit lower and a little bit shorter, but I think most of these riders will be very similar. You would maybe shifters maybe slightly higher to give a slightly more upright, more back over the back wheel position, but saddle height pretty much exactly the same, yeah.
Tullett comes through, the end of lap number 4, 10.5 kilometres of racing gone. That was a 5:56 lap for Ben Tullett, 3 seconds slower than his previous lap. But let's see what the gap is going to go back to the next Belgian rider as they desperately try to bring this race back together. They go across the line. The gap is 15 seconds now. It's a 7-lap race, and Tullett has really put them to the sword with that attack when they made the mistake as they went up towards the top of that little climb and on the adverse camber section. Thanks for all your messages, Glenn Killingweather, to Irish guys, Sean Nolan and Adam McGar. I think we've given you Adam McGar, and I'm not sure where Sean Nolan is. He's down in 71st place at the moment. The Japanese riders, 67th, Rata Suzuki, Daiki Kojima in 68th, and So Yaganasawa in 70th place. I'm sure Daisuke and the rest of the Japanese fans who message us in will want to know what's happening with the Japanese. But Tullett is concentrating hard, and this is just a flat-out power effort from him. He's now at 16 seconds.
We saw him on his Instagram posting pictures of him doing efforts up a climb.
Yeah, I saw that.
On his training camp, and I think that effort that he's just produced along that flat section is pretty much exactly the same length as his the one on his training camp.
That was impressive. If you've not seen Ben Tullett's Instagram that Simon just mentioned, he posts this effort where he's in Spain with a team car following him, and he's doing a flat-out power effort ready for these Worlds, and it's just, it's incredible to watch how fast he is going.
And this is exactly why he's done them. You know, it's this course. It's a little bit different. Again, it has had some criticism. This course, I think it's the World Cup last year wasn't a great setup from the area they had available, and it's changed it a little bit for the World Championships. But again, courses, you know, people have the favourites and what they think constitutes a cyclo-cross course. And again, you know, if you look back at the last 2 years of World Championships, this is totally different to Bielis in Luxembourg and Valkenburg in the Netherlands last year. Those were a lot hillier and again a lot muddier. So weather, the course configuration always changes, and so far this course is probably exceeding expectations. I think I wasn't expecting it to break up quite as quickly as it did, that lead group. I thought, honestly, seeing the course the last couple of days, it would stay together a little bit more. But it shows that certainly a combination of horsepower and bike riding ability on that bank is going to be key to success this weekend.
Yeah, it's starting to give us indications for the other races as well that we're going to see. But Tullett, to me, in the early stages, looked really composed, and that's difficult for a defending champion, isn't it? Well, it's so hard to do. Defending
champion, there's only one result he can really. Well, the expectation is only one result that's a success, and that's to win again. Anything else is almost seen as a failure, which is quite harsh. I think, you know, the season that Ben's had, and again, he hasn't won yet, so I'm not counting any chickens, but, you know, he's a very difficult position to be in, and I think he's dealt with the pressure very well. And again, coming from a season where he's had injury, and the beginning of his season was hard, and wearing the rainbow stripes, it's all the media attention is on you, you feel pressure, and he's the way he dealt with it and recovering from the injury was really impressive. And it's, you know, it's an old head on young shoulders, I think, with Ben Tullett.
Well, the first junior race was run in Italy in 1979, won by Jose Villande, and riders who have won it include Roman Kreuziger, Stuart Marshall, Richard Gronendahl, Roger Hammond, of course, won it in 1992 as a British rider, but the only rider who's defended his title ever in the history of the Junior World Championships, as Tullett just slides that back wheel across, is Mathieu van der Poel. He's the only rider who's gone back-to-back, so it just adds even more pressure as Tullett catches one of the Irish riders and laps him and goes past. It just shows how difficult, but this is always an indication of a top-class bike rider, the Junior World Cyclo-cross Championships.
Very smart move again by Tullett. He's dismounting on that camber on the upside, which is not his normal dismount side. And again, the fact that he's not dismounting the left side and going down the hill, it's a lot less slippery for him to do that. He's not landing from a height and losing his footing like we saw the Belgian do the lap previously. So again, he's thought about it. He's thought about every little part of this course.
Well, the riders were given the chance to ride here yesterday, weren't they? So they've had a chance to ride it, to see what's going on, to choose your lines.
2 days, yeah. It starts on Thursday, the UCI inspections on Thursday morning, and then the riders are able to train from Thursday afternoon. 2 sessions on Friday, a morning session of 2 hours and the same on Friday afternoon. And then a short one this morning just to get a feel for it and just to make sure nothing's changed significantly with the weather overnight.
End of lap number 5 for Ben Tullett, the defending champion, the leader of this race. 13.15 kilometers coming up now as that lovely shot running along the side of the finishing straight brings him home, and we'll see what his lap time is going to be as he's chased down by the 2 Belgian riders. A 6-minute lap for Tullett that time. He drops 4 seconds, 25.94 kilometers an hour. So he's gone 5:53, 5:56, 6 minutes. Here come the 2 chasers who are behind Witsy Moosen and Ryan Cortens as they come up to the line this time, and they're going to be 25 seconds down on the leading rider, Ben Tullett. So it is Ben Tullett, Witsy Moosen, Ryan Cortens. They are the top 3 riders in this race at the moment. 25 seconds now the advantage for the young British rider with 2 laps to go. Here come the chasers. They've really got to try and get across to that group of that duo of Belgians, otherwise they are not going to be in the medals. But Tullett now head rocking a little bit, but this is that point that Simon's been saying where he has trained extremely hard for this huge effort across this tough section, just trying to get every little bit of power out.
Then it's a little recovery, a little switch back, a little recovery, and then full gas into the bank. And again, just to try to be able to ride that.
Ross Wood saying the only other place that you can get punctures with the muscle shells is in Butte in Scotland. Probably quite similar to where we are now.
So when we have the Worlds there, we'll have experience of it already.
We will, yeah. We'll take the World Championships there, that'll happen. This is lap number 6, the penultimate lap. Ben Tullett goes up over that slidey, icy bank across the top now. He'll dive down to his right-hand side, and then he'll set himself up for the rest of the course. He just still looks really composed. He's seeing this like a video game today. He knows every single little camber. He knows every single little bit of uphill. He just is riding it with composure beyond a junior's years right now. But these 2 are still chasing. They've not given in. 32 minutes, but they're making mistakes because they are absolutely right on the limit.
Yeah, just that difference, isn't it? Being able to ride that bank, and those 2 Belgians, they've not ridden it for the last 3 laps, and it just, again, it's just seconds here and there that have added now to that 25-second advantage for Tullett.
Banjo Cycles, chapeau to his preparation and respect to the world jersey, the way he's prepared for this world title. Well, you can be a rider who is having troubles, having problems, but it's a true sign of how good a rider you are to be able to come back from injury, from illness and from everything else, and to just have the wits about you and the maturity to just sit there and say, okay, let's just wait until this knee's better. Let's not go out and just keep training, knowing you're in the world jersey and you know that you're under pressure to be at the start line of international cyclocross. Over the hurdles for these 2 Belgians.
I think we're to remember, you know, the British team took Tullett last year to give him experience for this year. And I think he surprised a lot of people in winning the title last year. And again, the Brits have done it this year. They brought 3 second-year juniors and 2 first-year juniors. And those 2 first-year juniors, they'll be here just to learn, to understand how World Championships works, to get a feel for the team environment. And I've got no doubt that those 2 will lead, again, another British team next year that'll be looking for podium places. The other nations do it a little bit. I think the British have always tried to do that, and I think it's something that sometimes gets criticised. Maybe you don't take a second-year junior that's maybe better than one of the first years, but giving that first year an opportunity to see a World Championships, it's crucial. It's so different to any other race, and to show up as a second-year junior with expectation, it's a very hard place to be. So they've thought about it, and again, Tullett certainly benefited from last year's experience, and again, last year's experience was winning, so there's no better experience than that one.
Well, another nation that's doing it now and it's paying dividends is the United States of America. They've got 26 riders here for these events, and that just shows the commitment from USA Cycling to bring so many riders for experience as well.
Yeah, and they're starting a whole new program, the USA, with Jesse Anthony at the helm, former great cross rider, went to the road, but appointed as a full-time US Federation Cyclo-cross coordinator, and he'll be only been in place since January the 1st, but he'll be going away from this, you know, with a summer to prepare for next year. But like you say, you know, they're already looking at riders 3 or 4 years in advance, you know, 14, 15, 16-year-olds that will be juniors. And again, let's not forget some young junior women coming onto these programs as well for the first junior women's title race next year in Switzerland. So a lot of thought goes into federation preparation. The Belgians have brought Thibaut Nace, son of Sven, for his first World's experience, and no doubt we'll be seeing him at the front of the title race next year. He's been at the front of some of the World Cups this year as a first year. He was in the mix in that bigger front group on lap 1 here.
1 lap to go for the defending champion who is leading this race. He gets the bell. Ben Tullett goes across the line. 36 minutes of racing have gone by. This race is going to be just over 40 minutes. This time was a 6:03 lap for Tullett. 25.73 kilometers an hour. Let's see what the gap is going to be back to the chasing riders. It was 25 seconds last time. These two riders who came across after their initial problems and then went on the attack, and then Tullett went over the top and attacked them when they made a mistake. The gap this time is going to be 34 seconds to the chasers. So the fastest lap time is a 5:50 by Ben Tullett, which actually I make it a 5:53 then. Witsimuse and a 5:58. Ryan Cortons with a 5:58. Pim Ronhar with a 6-minute lap. So it's 34 seconds back to the two riders. These two are going for the silver medal now. Problems here for Salvador Alvarado. He's just snapped his chain. Tullett giving this absolutely full gas across this section, lapping more riders. Full commitment. He knows Simon now. Just 6 minutes of effort to win the Rainbow Bands back.
Yes, but as we just saw with Alvarado, snap chains have suddenly become a little bit of a problem in cyclocross, so as they become thinner and lighter. So we need to get him across that line first before we... and again, no muscle shell, flat tyres.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, shame for the Dutchman there, breaking his chain. The younger brother of Celine Carmen Alvarado, who we're going to see in an hour or two's time, going for the under-23 women's title. I beg your pardon, that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah, under-23 men later.
Steve Smells, who forgot to bring the bell, he says. Oh, that was the bell. That's the one they were going to use all the time. We don't have to have the huge bell that everyone rings. Up the little bank for the last time. Ben Tullett, huge crowd in the background. Everyone has come out here to Bogense to enjoy this racing. Here's the two Belgian chasers, the top 10 right now then. Tullett, Cortons and Meusen of Belgium, Ronhar of the Netherlands, Nice of Belgium, Lindner of Germany, Thomas of France, Blanco now in 8th place for Spain, Tuplik of the Czech Republic in 9th, and Bellmans in 10th for Belgium. Then it's two Italians, Bogense and Leone in 11th and 12th. These two, though, are finding this this section really very, very difficult. Those legs are giving out, and Ryan Courtens is a very tired young rider now. He made a really hard effort up that climb. 39 minutes gone along the water. It's very, very cold, around about 1 degree centigrade, but Tullett has not got far to go. He's just got to keep spinning along here. Mathieu van der Poel won the world title back-to-back as a junior. He took it in Coxside in 2012 and Louisville in the USA in 2013. In 2017, Tom Pidcock won a very emotionally charged world title when they were riding in the memory of Charlie Craig. 3 Brits in the top 3, and that set things off because last year this young rider, Ben Tullett, came, as Simon said, for experience, and he won the world title, and he's here trying to defend it. And so far, he's defended it with absolute maturity and total focus as he aims now to set himself up to win the world title. And that would make it a hat-trick of British wins in a row, which, Simon, I remember sitting with you about 6 years ago and sitting here and saying, is there any British chances? And you said, well, not really.
Yeah, maybe a bit harsh. The whoa. Don't high-side it, Ben. You've come this far. Oh, that was close. Yeah, no, I think, like you say, 5 or 6 years ago, there was no real, nobody really on the horizon, but this crop of young Brits that came through, just been exceptional, and there's so many more behind them now as well, that's the encouraging thing. I think with a program, it's always about keeping the momentum, keeping people coming through, and I think at the moment there's some really talented young men and women in the British squad that are all just feeding off this success. You know, 3 world titles in the last 3 years for the junior men, with a clean sweep of the podium 2 years ago. It's the kind of thing that breeds enthusiasm, breeds participation, and everybody wants to be part of it. So it's you know, the British saw it with the track racing, they saw it on the road, and it's now finally transferring to cyclo-cross.
Well, I've finally seen a little bit of a smile on the face of Ben Tullett. He looked a little bit nervous, but totally focused on the start line. Going clear now to go for the silver medal, Witzemusen, but Tullett drops down onto the tarmac. He will see the gantry in front of him. He has ridden an absolutely perfect race. This is Ben Tullett. He's going to get himself ready to defend the rainbow bands. He is going to be the 2nd junior rider to go back-to-back. Ben Tullett wins the world title here to open up the racing in Bogense. It is gold for Great Britain with a show of pure focus, pure strength and total maturity. Ben Tullett just takes back his rainbow bands, and the only other rider to ever do it is Mathieu van der Poel. Silver medal is going to be Witzemusen for Belgium. He takes the silver, and behind him is going to be Ryan Courtens, who will take the bronze. Simon, a perfect race for the Brit.
It was a perfect race. He had me slightly worried for a few seconds when the Belgians and the Dutch rider just got away. But, you know, he looked calm the whole time. He never panicked, closed the gap, saw the Dutchman wasn't going to close it to the 2 Belgians once they got rid of him. And, yeah, from then on, I think made his move on the technical sections, was outstanding on those, really used his head, rode very smartly, and had the horsepower and the watts in the legs to be able to keep the gap on the flat sections like we saw. And it's windy out there, it's hard, it's not easy. And like you said, I think you summed it up, a race of real maturity.
Joshua Goodnitz, the first Danish rider to cross the line. Pete Hargraves has just messaged me because Ben Tullett used to ride for him and says when he rode for him, he prepared better than any other rider of his age. He thought of absolutely everything. Riders coming across the line now. There's Macho of Spain, Hoobs behind him from Belgium. Alex Morton of the USA crosses the line in 18th place. Very, very impressive opening to these World Championships. Just total composure is how I would describe that.
And it's always interesting for me to see the first race, to see the course, to understand where gaps can open, because until walking around, you don't really get a good feel for it. But, you know, now I think we're going to see the next 4 races. It's possible to win on your own.
Man. What a race. How do you feel?
Oh, it hasn't set in yet, but it feels just as good as the first time. And I'm so happy that I could come back from a hard season with, you know, injuries at the beginning. So, yeah, I'm proud of myself.
Can you take us a bit inside your race? How do you cope with it?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning I knew that I just need to keep it calm and composed. You know, it's a 40-minute race. You don't need to be going hard at the beginning. It's the finish line that matters. So I really felt like I dealt with that well, and yeah, I'm super happy to come away with the win, of course.
How was it just, I mean, facing this Belgian Armada, you on your own yourself, without so many teammates like the others?
Yeah, I mean, I think I used that to my advantage. I knew that maybe they would look at each other, and I used my head and I went when I thought was best for me, and it seemed to work out today. So yeah, I'm chuffed.
What made the difference here today? I mean, which section was a key element for you for your win today?
I think the power climbs were really good for me. I'm really seem to be good at those. So yeah, I think I chose my moment well on the second lap. So yeah, I was really pleased.
You mentioned your last year win. Any difference to confirm again here today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different course. Last year it was incredibly muddy, and today I didn't change bikes once. So yeah, it's completely different. It shows how different cyclocross can be in the different conditions.
Rainbow jersey, you know about that, of course. How can you anticipate your feelings on the podium in a few minutes' time?
Well, I won't believe it until I see it. It's a strange feeling, and yeah, I can't wait to go up there and get my new rainbow jersey.
Congratulations again. Thank you very much for that. Cheers.
So, reflections of Ben Tullett on winning the world title. This is the moment, Simon, when he took the race on.
Yeah, very smart move. Went into that bank, he knew he could ride it. Went into it first. I think we see the third Belgian put a foot down. Now the Belgians made it that time, but certainly on preceding laps, he knew he could make a move there, and he just reinforced it at the end of that lap on the camber. Just here, I think. Yeah, he scooted up there, didn't make a mistake.
That was his attack.
Took a little bit longer to get over the top of it and get back into the race. And by that time, he got those few seconds. Oh, that was a heart stopper.
Yeah. Nearly went.
For anybody watching that's not British, watching that interview, chuffed means happy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
But again, you know, I think he said he kept calm those early laps. He knew what he needed to do, and I like the comment that he thought the Belgians would look at each other, and he was quite happy to ride on his own without any teammates in that front group. It's again, he knew what he needed to do, and I think he'd thought about the race. He knew on the course where he was able to make a difference, and just kept calm.
Didn't even have a bike change.
No, and I think again that shows the conditions on the course. I don't think. Hopefully, bike changes aren't going to be a contributing factor to race results this weekend. We haven't seen any, certainly haven't seen any flat tyres in the riders that the cameras have been following, and usually they pick up if somebody's punctured on the course. We just saw the one snap chain.
So no muscle shells so far today.
I think they've all been cleaned up.
We wait for the podium presentation. Riders are out on the course now, warming up. Here's confirmation of the result of today. Ben Tullett of Great Britain wins in 42 minutes 29 seconds. Wietse Meusen will take the silver medal for Belgium. Ryan Kortjens in third place will take the bronze at 27 seconds. Thibaut Nice there in fourth place. I'm sure his father Sven's going to be very proud of a performance there in fourth place. There's so much pressure on that young rider.
There is a lot of pressure, yeah. Again, the other night in Belgium, I was watching a TV program series about him called Nice DNA, which is kind of following the beginning of the career of Thibaut, and just things like that, having cameras following you all the time in the house, out training, at the race. It's all tough. It's, you know, as a 17-year-old lad, it's hard to deal with, and it's almost that Axel Merckx situation, isn't it?
It is,
you know,
yeah.
trying to be as good as your father. It's a difficult one, but I think Thibaut's 4th place here as a first-year junior. I think he's set himself up perfectly. I think he's got the experience of a really good World Cup season behind him. Hasn't come into it dominating, which I think might have been more of a problem for him moving forward. I think he's just been in the mix, able to be competitive but not winning, which I think is good to go into a second-year junior. I think he'll certainly learn from this championships, and he'll be one to watch next year for sure, and in the years to come. You know, he's going to be around
Absolutely.
for a while.
Well, we look forward to seeing how he progresses. The fans are getting ready for the first of the podium presentations of these World Championships. Don't forget the hashtag to use is Bogense 2019. There's the Canadian fans out enjoying the racing so far. So many nationalities. It's very cosmopolitan here for these world titles, as always. And the party will just continue to grow over the weekend. Well, the Belgians will be discussing what happened then. I think they were hoping, judged based on all the things that we've seen over the last few weeks of the World Cups, they were hoping that this would be the first gold medal to get things started for Belgium. But Ben Tullett has tapered his form perfectly and got himself the rainbow bands back for the 2nd time. This is this lovely little marina, which is here in Bogense, this lovely tourist spot. A couple of famous sports people come from here. Olympic sailor Morgan Jas Mikkelsen and Peter Raven, the international speedway rider, come from Bogense down here on the coast. So it's a nice host for these World Championships. In a few moments then, the podium presentation. Thanks for all your messages at Simon Burney, at Ant McCrossness, where you can join us throughout these world titles. Also have a look at UCI_cycling, and a lot of the cyclocross news at UCI_CX is where you can keep up to date with everything that's going on during these world titles. I hope you're enjoying the coverage. We will, of course, bring you coverage of the men's under-23 race and the women's elite race. And the women's elite race is going to be very, very interesting now. Looking at that course, I think we're set for some pretty exciting racing over the next 2 races. We're now at around about 12 o'clock. The next race will be at 1 o'clock, so in 1 hour's time. And the women's elite race at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So in 3 hours' time, the women are out on the course, taking a look at it, just trying to work out their lines. Simon, does it show you that there might be a different rider who could win one of those races, or do you think that we are still looking at the same favourites based on what we saw?
Yeah, I think for all the races, I think everyone's got a little list of their own favourites for all the races. And I think, you know, the next one, the under-23 men, I think that's the big showdown between Ellie Isabet and Tom Pidcock. The women's race, you know, everyone's saying it. There's 10 riders that could win that race. Now, I don't think this course and these conditions changes those names. I think it's just going to maybe favour 1 or 2 a little bit if it's fast and frozen, rather than it being very, very muddy and maybe more running.
But also it shows us that you can make a mistake and then that's it, game over, just by the sliding of these bankings.
Yeah, certainly. I think, you know, that you still need the attention to detail that we saw with these junior men. Mistakes are going to be making a difference. And again, you know, we talk about them as mistakes, and they're not mistakes. They're not doing anything wrong. It's just the conditions are so slippery that that's what happens, you know. And yeah, Ben rode it perfectly and didn't make those errors.
Onto the podium for the presentation of the UCI World Championships Cyclo-cross for junior men.
May we have your attention, please, for the official award ceremony of the 2019 UCI Cyclo-cross
They tower above him a little,
in Bogense,
the two Belgian
Denmark.
riders.
Mine damer og herrer, så vi klar til
But the figure of the powerful young junior here is about to take his rainbow bands again.
During this award ceremony, the medals and also the rainbow jersey will be presented by Mr. Renato Di Rocco, the UCI Vice President.
Og til at overrække regnbuetrøjen og medaljer, det bliver Renato Di Rocco, vicepræsident i UCI.
In third place, the winner of the bronze medal representing Belgium.
På tredjepladsen og bronzemedaljevinder, repræsenterende Belgien, mine damer og herrer, Ryan Courtin!
Ryan Courtins takes the bronze medal, the winner of 2 rounds of the World Cup in Namur and Zolder this year.
The UCI Vice President. Third place, bronze medal, Ryan Courtins from Belgium. In second place, the winner of the silver medal, also coming from Belgium.
Og på andenpladsen, og dermed vinder af sølvmedaljevinder, repræsenterende Belgien, Witse Mason!
Witse Mason is the silver medalist, the winner of the World Cup this season.
Also out of the hands of Mr. Renato Di Rocco, our UCI Vice President. Second place, silver medal, Witse Mason! And then, ladies and gentlemen, his second consecutive world title, the winner of the gold medal and the new world champion coming from Great Britain.
Og mine damer og herrer, førsteplads og dermed ny verdensmester, vinder af guldmedaljen, repræsenterende Storbritannien. Mine damer og herrer, stort applaus!
Ben Tullett, only the second rider in history to go back-to-back with a world title at junior level.
The rainbow jersey and also the gold medal out of the hands of
Pulls
Mr.
on the
Renato
rainbow
Di Rocco,
bands
the UCI Vice
for
President.
the second time.
A new rainbow jersey for
Well, he had a
the strongest
troubled
guy in
start to
race.
this season, but
The defending
let's hope
champion did it once
that
again.
this
Gold medal for him.
this time, as he
And
builds up to
give
next
him a
season, he
big
will
applause.
get
The new world champion,
good
Ben
form
Tullett.
and not the troubles that he had. But it's all ended
May
well.
we now invite Mr. Jacob Staun, head of
Back
sports
in the rainbow
of Sport
bands
Event Fyn,
after a
for
superb
presenting the flowers
race.
for our 2 or 3 riders on the podium.
Og det er Jakob Stavn, chef for Sport Event Fyn, som overrækker blomster til de 3 medaljevindere.
First of all, we have flowers for Ryan Courtins. We have flowers also for Witse Mason, and also we will have flowers for our new world champion standing in the middle of the podium, Ben Tullett from Great Britain. May we have your attention, ladies and gentlemen, right now for the national anthem of Great Britain.
A very proud young man enjoying the national anthem there.
Vincent Mason, our silver medalist, and in the
as
middle,
he takes
the
the rainbow
world
bands.
champion in the men junior category from Great Britain.
Flanked there by the two Belgian riders who took the race on so well earlier stages, Witsimuz and Ryan Kortjens.
riders to take one more step to the front, please, for the final pictures of
But he has got his preparation absolutely right to ensure that he pulls on the rainbow bands for the second time. Well, there they are. That's the first of our world titles of 2019. It was certainly a great race, split up a lot more than Simon expected. But it ends with a little bit of history as Ben goes over now to sign the rainbow jersey.
And there was up in the back. Thank you, congrats.
Ah, my flowers.
We have second race coming up at 1:12 this afternoon.
There he goes. He will now, of course, have to deal with all the press and all the things, but he's done that before. He will know exactly what to expect. The women are out now, taking a look at the course. The timetable for the next race, 55 minutes until the live coverage of the under-23 men's race. The showdown between Elizabeth and Tom Pidcock for the under-23 title. That's how it's been billed. We'll wait and see whether that is exactly how it happens. And the congratulations of his family. There he is as he crosses the line. All the hard work paid off. He took the world title. No one in sight. His victory, 20 seconds, even easing up all the way down that finishing straight. A very proud young man, isn't he? There's Dean Downing, his coach. Dean, a very good British criterium rider, rode on the track for Great Britain. Congratulated there by Adrie van der Poel, the father of Matthew. And he'll walk away. Various autographs and everything else. I'm sure he's going to be very, very busy for the next couple of hours. And it'll start to sink in that he's won the world title. As we look across Bogense here on the coast here in central Denmark, we're going to get ready for the next race, the under-23 men's race. We'll take a look across this area. We'll leave you with the highlights of the junior men's race, won by the British rider Ben Tullett, the second rider in history to go back-to-back. We'll bring you the live coverage of the men's under-23 race in 55 minutes' time. Bye for now.
Og det er Jakob Stavn, chef for Sport Event Fyn, som overrækker.
Alongside the harbour in this beautiful These are the conditions they're going to have to contend with. The wind is sweeping down off the Kattegat. It's icy, and we are underway. It's history repeating itself. This could be it. This could be the moment. The drama that we needed has come right at the end of this race. This is going to be the